Okay. So, this is the eve of Thanksgiving, so I don't know how many people are going to be on, but I'm excited to be here. And I'm pretty excited to talk about the topic, which is community connection. And that's because right now is a time that a lot of people are thinking, oh my gosh, I want to be connected. I want to have connections with others. And the idea is, I don't know how to do it. And people have a lot of FOMO, all kinds of things. So, my name is Deborah Heiser. I'm an applied developmental psychologist, and I wrote the Mentorship Edge. I was founder of the Mentor Project for 8 years. And I do a lot of community work. I'm really excited about mentoring and other projects. And I wanted to be able to talk about ways to get involved, ways to do some of the things that we all enjoy doing, but maybe feel awkward about it or not sure where to go or what to do or even what the benefit is. Maybe people think the benefit is only for people who are, looking for other things. So anyway, here we go. So connection during the holidays really is such an incredibly powerful protector of mental and physical health. And it's surprisingly easy to access connection through the community and have all kinds of intergenerational pathways. Most people just don't really know what's out there. So, you can find some of what I've written about in Psychology Today or in my Substack blog called The Right Side of 40, but I'm going to go over a lot of it today. So, we should be using um, connection as a prescription. And that's really, something that if we were to look at exercise as a prescription, or if we were to look at, diet as a prescription, any of those things are prescriptions that we give ourselves. And connection is really one of the biggest things that we can prescribe for ourselves, just like we would any other thing that we're looking to have a health benefit with. So, um, holidays are one of those things that really amplify loneliness, and it can amplify stress. And especially in midlife, this can happen where anything that we are coming up upon, especially the holidays, can feel intensified in terms of stress or loneliness. But we can take really teeny tiny, small, intentional steps towards community involvement and getting involved in intergenerational exchange. And that really can act as a social prescription. And that boosts our health, that boosts our meaning, it boosts our joy. It really, thank you for the likes. It really is helpful. And I know that, when I've talked to people, they don't really see how that could be helpful. But really, what it's doing for us is it's allowing us to feel relevant, that we matter. When we're working with other people towards a goal, it makes us feel like we're doing something that brings us closer to others in the world. It can feel very isolating or disconnected if we're not involved with community. So, um, when we look at loneliness, holidays, the midlife crunch that we might be experiencing, there can be a lot of ambivalence around the holidays, feeling like, oh, yes, I'm into the holidays. They can be great, but there's a lot going on. So it can be great, but busy. There's a lot of caregiving involved. There's, maybe you're launching adult children. You might have aging parents. There might be grief from the loss of somebody who would have been at the holiday. There might be distance where you're far away from your family or your friends, and so you're by yourself. So loneliness can creep in all kinds of ways, and it's a health risk for us. It's comparable to smoking, to heavy drinking, to all kinds of things that can really affect our physical health. So making sure that we're feeling socially connected is super important, particularly during the holidays. We really have, hello, I see you on here. We really have a lot going on, and it's important to just really be intentional with whatever we're giving. So it's really important. Thank you for the gift. I am in New York. Where are you? So, um, I'm not saying to do more. I am saying what we should be doing is connecting differently. Um, when we are connecting with people, we should be thinking of it as doing what we normally like to do, but when we're intentionally realizing that we're connecting with others, it helps us to feel like we have a safety net out there. So, some people have said to me, "Hey, holidays are just another day in the week." There's different ways that we can reframe the holidays, but for the most part, one of the biggest things that we can do is look to anybody in our community, volunteering, arts groups, walking clubs, intergenerational programs. And if we're not feeling lonely, we should be looking to others who we think might be. So it could be your neighbor, it could be a family member, it could be anybody out there, and address this because it's linked with depression, chronic conditions. So just being aware that all of this exists for ourselves and others as risk factors if we're not connected with others is going to be helpful. So I've written a few times about social prescribing as a framework for getting out there and making sure that people are plugged into the community in some way, using connection as medicine. So it's really making the case that community activities are legitimate interventions, not just nice extras. And I'll tell you that this past weekend, I got together with the local Rotary Club, and they got together hundreds of students and adults of various ages to volunteer to put together, I think it was about 1,200 meals for needy families. And this ended up, it was amazing. It worked so seamlessly so that within 50 minutes, less than an hour, we had about 1,200 bags that were put together with 10 items in them that would be placed with a turkey that could be given to individual families. And the kids that were there were they were really, some were really young, and some, there were a variety of different ages, but the kids were so into it. And it was getting all of the adults really excited to watch the kids. One young kid who was about 6 said, "I can't wait to come back next year." The adults were all talking to each other. Everybody felt great. Everybody was there for a good reason. So everyone was feeling good about themselves and feeling good about the community and feeling good about the kickoff of the holiday. That's the kind of connection that doesn't cost a dime to get involved with, but makes you feel relevant. It makes you feel like you matter. It makes you feel like you're part of the world. And this is the kind of connection that is medicine. And this is what helps to make sure that people are able to, feel good about themselves throughout the holidays. So even if you're doing something that isn't exactly on the day of the holiday and you're involved in something in the holiday where you're connecting with others in some kind of community way, that can make it feel like that holiday day, whether you're connected or not with people, is still feels good. You still feel good about it. So there's a ton of evidence that social prescribing and community group referrals improve social connectedness. It improves mood, sense of belonging, particularly for people who are isolated. So if you know somebody who is not as connected as they could be, maybe there's somebody online, maybe there's somebody that you know that lives farther away, maybe they're your neighbor, maybe they're your family member. See if you can find a way to plug them in. I'm going to give a list of all kinds of community organizations that people can belong to or get involved in. And one of the big thing is you don't have to do this every day. You don't have to do it every week. It can be something that you do a couple times a year that you look forward to that makes you feel connected. Connection isn't something that means that you have to be with somebody at all times. It just is saying, I'm connected to the world. So some people do activities just on the holidays or around the holidays, and that's good enough. Some people do, get connected once a week, once a month, 4 times a year. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. So think of this not as, oh no, now I have a chore of getting together with, a whole lot of, um, you know, programs now. Now I'm going to be so busy with all kinds of stuff, and this is going to be a burden to me. No, it doesn't have to be a burden. It can be, that you're doing it, just a few times a year. So Robert Waldinger was part of the Harvard longitudinal studies, taken it over, and he says that relationships matter more than ever in midlife. And he's really been looking at adult development as the as part of the longest running longitudinal study of adult life. It's more than 75 years. And one of the core findings is that the quality of relationships is the most robust predictor of health, happiness, and longevity across the decades. So having relationships with people. Now, maybe you're saying hi to the person at a deli or at the post office when you stop in there. That's a connection. Maybe you go regularly to the library and you know the person behind the circulation desk. Maybe you go to the post office and you know the person at the post office and they know you by name, or just to say hi. These kinds of things matter from that level all the way up to being really committed to a program or to something that you're involved in the community that could be much bigger. And so if we look at social connections as being really, and relationships being something as easy as every day saying hi to the person at the dry cleaners or who takes your mail or who you see at the gas station or wherever, that in itself is a great start. You don't have to say to yourself, oh my gosh, I have one more thing to add to my list of things that I need to do. You can start with something really easy, which is saying to yourself, wow, I know that I go in every time I feel really good when I go get, a cup of coffee at somewhere and they know who I am. I mentioned this to my class of students and someone said, yeah, they love going to Starbucks and they know who she is. And that feels good. We can all relate to that feeling. And that's really what these relationships are about, and connecting and being involved in the community. So warm, stable relationships predict lower rates of depression, lower rates of heart disease, lower rates of cognitive decline, and chronic loneliness predicts earlier mortality and poor health, physical health. So it's really, really important. And I think that most of us overlook that. We can go a whole day maybe without leaving the house, especially if you're somebody who works at home or is retired. So it's really important to make sure that you're connecting with somebody as often as you possibly can. And one of the biggest holiday relevant takeaways from, Waldinger is that small, consistent investments in relationships, checking in on somebody, joining a group, maybe you're going to join a book club or something like that, showing up for others, join the gym, go to Planet Fitness. These things compound over time, and they're especially potent in midlife when roles are shifting. So think about it. At any time when there's transition, when things are shifting, you need something grounding, and social relationships are grounders for all of us. So it could be as simple as joining a Planet Fitness and going out and having a very inexpensive gym membership, but you go there and you recognize the same people, and it helps you to feel pretty good. It's checking in on people, maybe your neighbor, maybe it's somebody that you are just texting every now and then who lives far away and you're saying, how are you? These things matter. So when we look at intergenerational connection, which is connecting with people who aren't your age, they could be younger, they could be older, they could be, they could be the same age, it doesn't matter. But when we're looking at intergenerational connection, this can be the background for how you look at a lot of things and how you stay relevant. If we look at a systematic review of generational interventions, it shows that older adults, their mental health, including it really has reduced depression and loneliness and a lot better well-being that takes place. So that's really just showing that when people are getting together in any way, with lots of different ages, intergenerational, it could be grandmother, grandchild, it could be somebody at work who's older, hanging out with somebody younger at work, it could be neighbor, it could be friends, whatever. But there are benefits to that, particularly for older adults. So get yourself started now with an intergenerational friendship or in clubs or groups or community activities that have intergenerational components to them. When we look at some of the programs that are associated with higher life satisfaction and self-esteem and lower depression, these are some of the community events that people take for granted. They think, oh, these are, they'll always be there. I'll join another day. Those are the sorts of things that, plug in earlier rather than later. You don't want to wait until you absolutely feel like you need it. And non-familial connections with people are super important. That's because it doesn't come with a lot of the baggage that family events can have. It's so nice to get sometimes a fresh perspective from somebody, to get a new take on things. And that can happen when you do things outside of your family that are just for yourself. So, I've joined groups and organizations all the time that are not family related because I want to get involved with people outside of my family. And I find that to be helpful. And research shows that is for most people. So, when we're doing intergenerational activities, it also helps with physical engagement, and it reduces social exclusion, loneliness, and increases, social capacities. I know that I joined an intergenerational, it wasn't intended that way, pickleball group. And that has people that range in, I think, at least 25, 30 years in the age range. And it really helps everybody to not only get out there physically, but it really helps with all of us looking at different perspectives of things and how things matter to other people. The ways that, it also really helps to increase the physical activity of all of us, but especially the older in the group. So when older adults are mentoring or tutoring or sharing their skills with younger generations, this is something that provides usefulness, relevance, things like that, that matter to all of us. And we can find those programs everywhere to get involved with. And you don't even need a program for that, but you can plug into your community in different ways with that, or with your family. I know in the holidays, this is especially easy. I'm passing down this Thanksgiving recipes that my grandmother had that I'm cooking. Now my kids are seeing it. That's mentorship. Most people think mentorship is just for work, but it's not. The holidays are a huge time for passing down values and traditions and things like that, culture. And when we look at the digital world, we're really lucky because we now have the ability to connect with people who are all around the world because we're on digital platforms. This is so helpful for us. We can connect with people. This is a big reducer for loneliness and social isolation because we're able to get on in a Zoom or on FaceTime or on social media on live streams. And it's very relevant, especially during the holidays when in-person contact might be limited. If you can't, I'm doing well, hope you're doing well too. If you are feeling socially isolated, you have the ability to come on social media and connect with others. You have the ability to get on a Zoom or a FaceTime or another platform. And that is unbelievably helpful. So, connecting in whatever way we can. Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. Any way we can is good. So, we don't have to think of, oh, I have to do a big lift. I have to do something really big in order to be connected. Anybody on here right now is connecting, and that's social connection, and that counts. It really works towards it. So, the reason that connection really resonates in midlife is because of its link to generativity. And what should the priority of everyone be here? To connect. Everyone should be connecting. Connect here, connect with others during the holiday periods, whenever holidays exist. That's the best, biggest time to get connected. Connect in the community, connect outside your family, inside your family, but get connected. Connection for everyone here should be a priority, because if you are not connected, it's one of the leading things that moves us. Of course, I'd love that. I appreciate you. That brings us to loneliness, and it really does shorten our lives. There's been a lot of writing about that. So that's why I'm talking today about social connection. Of course, absolutely. That's why social connection is so important to us all. And I wanted to be able to talk about it. Just to update anybody, my name is Deborah Heiser. I'm an applied developmental psychologist. My areas of focus have been midlife and aging, but I was founder and CEO of the Mentor Project, and I also wrote the Mentorship Edge. I'm really passionate about individuals doing what they can. So this is okay. So when a holiday arrives where you are, then take this into consideration. So we here in the US have Thanksgiving coming tomorrow, and all holidays are linked with people feeling oftentimes disconnected or lonely or feeling FOMO, fear of missing out. And some people don't have the ability to get together with others. And there are ways that we can connect. It doesn't have to be exactly on the day of a holiday. It can be at any time. Some people try to do community connection just a couple times a year, and that is great. Coming on here, connecting with others, feeling relevant, useful in some way are all important to us. So the reason it often resonates in midlife is because of the link to generativity. This is a developmental emotional milestone that we reach in midlife between 40 and 65. And it makes it what we feel during this life stage is that we want to give back to others, and we're not expecting something in return. We want to do it because it makes our footprint feel deeper. It makes us feel connected to others. It makes us feel relevant, useful, all of the things that we need to feel. And when we do this, it's incredibly important when we get involved in intergenerational connection, because we can feel like we are passing on some of our values or knowledge to the next generation, and then that makes us feel like we live on in them. So this is a really important thing. We can do this for volunteering, mentoring, philanthropy, but it's super important just to get connected. You don't even have to be doing these three things. We can just connect with others. So these are important ways that if it's around the holidays and you say to yourself, I'm starting to feel a little lonely, I'm feeling disconnected, you can plug into some of the community opportunities that are there for you. So local community centers, libraries, faith communities, There are often even holiday events that are at these, at, all kinds of faith community, whatever your religion is, there's probably going to be a holiday event that you'd be welcomed into, reading programs, service projects, anything that has other people there where you can connect with them. And a lot of times, the organizations are much more flexible than we thought. A lot of people think if I'm going to join a community organization, they're going to like haunt me. They're going to just, plague me, and my time is more valuable than that. So what we can do, what most organizations are doing, are offering, flexible or seasonal volunteering roles that you don't have to do all the time, that allow us to do things like maybe deliver holiday meals, help with a toy or coat drive, or participate in some kind of a project that's for a day or even a few hours, and it's a few times a year. And so some of these things can even be done digitally. A lot of people come on, they tutor or they mentor digitally, and that's very helpful. You could be paired up with somebody somewhere in a whole different country than you. And so if we look at some of these, we can really look at some of the micro prescriptions for holiday connection. And that is just getting involved. Say to yourself, I'm going to do one event for one holiday once a year. And that can be something really small. That could be a neighborhood event, even digitally getting involved in something, mentoring someone, inviting neighbors to your home for maybe decorating or baking or volunteering at any kind of event. These are like micro things. You're not going to be doing it forever. It's just once, maybe a year, something like that, but it can make you feel really good. It can make you feel like you're part of the holiday, even if you're not with your family or the people that you would like to be. So it's a way of reframing a holiday a success away from perfection. So if you can't be with somebody instead of that you would like to be, you live far away from your family, it's a way of redefining, holiday success, because we see all the movies, we see, we hear people talking about holiday and how it should look and the best way it should be and all of the things you should be doing and engaging with. And that's pressure. That's like searching for perfection for something that's supposed to be fun, and kind of sucks the fun out of it for a lot of people, or becomes so much involved in consumerism that it makes you feel disconnected because you're not able to engage in the level of consumerism that others are. So by being useful in some way, being seen in some way, being connected in some way, that can really override all of those other feelings that, we're trying to avoid usually during the holidays. So just one community connection is all you need. That's it. It's not a big thing at all. I want to give a list of some of the things that we can do, places that we can connect, because I think that if we sort of look at some micro connections out there, we can really find that we do a lot more than we realize, and we can time them during the year when it's most important for us. So if you time some of these around the holidays, it makes it so that it gets you through the holidays, or can enhance your holidays. So some real easy ones are local public libraries. They have talks, that they give talks there. You can go attend those talks. They're free. They have book clubs. They're free. They have classes. They have tutoring. They'll teach people how to do things. They have STEM labs in some cases where you can go make things. Public libraries are great resources for connection. Even if you don't join one of those and you are going in and you are interacting with the librarians who are there, or the people at the circulation desk, you are connecting. Community centers like a YMCA, anything like that, fitness classes. You could go join Planet Fitness. I think it's like $10 a month. Hobby groups, support groups, any of those are really important to do. They're great. A lot of them are free or really low price. Parks and recreation programs. These are walking groups. There are tons of those. Cleanup groups. I know they just had one of those in my neighborhood where they were cleaning up a public space. And a lot of people came out, and it was just a couple hours, but everybody felt really amazing. And sports leagues. A lot of sports leagues exist. I know that I play pickleball. I'll pick up games with people in my community. Somebody started a WhatsApp chat in the community that I'm in. And so people can join to play whenever they want. And I got to meet a whole bunch of neighbors I never knew. And so that is a really big, easy thing. And it doesn't have to be that. It could be anything you want it to be, any sport that you enjoy. Going to coffee shops. They oftentimes have things like discussion groups. They'll have an open mic night, game night. Coffee shops have all kinds of activities. Farmers markets, local fairs, places that have regular vendors or performances. Service stuff, easy. This one is like food pantries, soup kitchens, community meal programs. They have such need. And those are great places to go. And you can just pick holiday time if you wanted for that. Some people do just volunteering around the holidays, and that's their holiday. They feel that that is the holiday. So you can do that. Mutual aid networks, neighborhood aid networks. Your neighborhood probably has an aid program that is helping maybe students who need help, older adults who need help, anything at all that's going on in your neighborhood. Those are great places to go. Just go during the holidays. Animal shelters and rescue organizations. This is a time when if you decided, hey, I love animals, I'm going to go, and you can even go and volunteer and pet the animals. Like, how cool is that? You could go and do that, or you could do other things. But you can do that, especially during the holidays. It might be giving people a break who work in some of the shelters so that you're there during the holiday, and that could be your holiday. Environmental or park groups, like trail maintenance, like for any trails that are out there, garden or river cleanups. I know those are a big deal in a lot of communities, and you really get to meet a lot of cool people that way. There are a lot of citywide volunteer portals that you can look at, umbrella organizations. You could even go on Eventbrite. That is, an app or a website, and you can go on there and see what's going on locally. Adult education classes and workshops. They have a ton of things that are in adult ed. Hobby clubs like knitting circles, photography groups, writing groups, maker spaces. A lot of these are free. A lot of these you go when you want and only when you want. Local theater, music groups, community choirs. These are huge during the holidays, community choirs. So if you like to sing, this is how you can feel great during the holidays. Museum and cultural centers that rely on people who are volunteers to take them around. They're called docents. Event volunteers, member programs, any of those. They always need people, and during the holidays, it's a great place to be. Bookstores that have book clubs, private home book clubs, all of those are great. Faith communities are big. They have so much. So faith communities have all kinds of service things you can do, small groups, social justice committees, holiday events. If you were to drop in and say, hey, I would love to do some things, people will be happy to help you out to find those. Identity-based organizations, LGBTQ centers, veterans groups, cultural associations, any of those are great. Peer groups, like there are peer support groups, there are recovery groups. These all meet in community venues. There are oftentimes holiday gatherings for these. Parenting groups, caregiving groups, grief support groups. Um, During the holidays, this is particularly good to get plugged into these, especially a grief um, support group. If this is going to be the first holiday that you are missing someone, so if you can get plugged into one of those, that is great. They are linked to hospitals, they're linked all over the place, and you can usually find them. They don't cost anything. Nonprofits, faith communities, these are all great places to get connected. If you're looking for intergenerational and family friendly groups, there are senior centers, schools, nonprofits, any of those. There are probably senior centers in the area, and you can get plugged into those. You don't have to go all the time, you can go during the holidays. Community gardens, urban farms, they welcome everybody of all ages. After school programs, youth clubs, mentoring organizations, um, neighborhood associations, tenant organizations, um, recreational leagues, and pickup sports for adults and mixed age teens, in person meetup groups organized around any kind of a shared interest. Um, all of these are available, and a lot of people benefit from getting plugged in right around the holidays. Connection is so important. The smallest of connections matter. Saying hi to people in your neighborhood, developing even a casual connection with people is useful and helpful. Noticing those in our communities who are not connected is also helpful to get them connected. Um, but I hope that during this holiday season that you get connected in any way you can and that you have an amazing holiday. I'm so thankful that I have a community here online, and I'm grateful to everyone here. So I wish you all a very happy holiday in the US. If you're here, if you're in another country and this is not your holiday season, um, I wish you also to get connected and have a great day. So,